I cannot believe this is actually real animation. Like, this was just straight up done by only 2 people. Like, I'm not lying, that ain't clickbait. This was just apparently done by 2 people with too much time on their hands that clearly have just so much passion, not just for animation and anime, but for One Piece. Because you're not telling me when you sit here and look at this, just how fluid, how incredible, and honestly, this is probably some of the best animation and fan animation I have ever seen, not just for One Piece, but for just anime in general. Like, this is high-level stuff. Like, if this individual and his partner, like Zach, this is his channel, by the way, if this man has not officially been scouted or hired by an animation studio, there's no way they won't after this, because it's like, Toei, or someone at Toei, or someone at WIT Studios, or a big animation studio, needs to take a hard look at this work and be like, yo, you need to be hired, because it's like, this is some talent, man. To be able to do something like this and create this on your own with just 2 people is an insane feat that, honestly, showing this on your resume, like, if you were to go into a job interview and be like, I want to be an animator at your company, just show them this clip and what you worked on and proof that you did this, you'd probably instantly be hired on the spot. Like, there's no way. And I feel like there's only a matter of time until we probably see this individual, maybe their partner, and a major anime project, because it's like, this is insane. Like, this is currently trending, by the way. This is making traction in the One Piece community, and a little bit in the anime community right now, and when I sat here and watched this, I honestly had this playing on loop over and over again. I cannot have the sound on for obvious reasons because it actually has a copyrighted One Piece song on it, so I will link this video in the description if you want to watch it for yourself, but the song fits very well with this. It's perfectly in tune and in line with this animation that was done. But I gotta point out something. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I really want to see a full anime with this art style now. We can never get maybe a One Piece anime to look like this, I would like to see an anime with this art style. Maybe there is, I'm just unaware of it, but I love the film grain. I love the grainy nature of this animation, and for some reason, it really just looks so well with One Piece. I don't know if it would work with a lot of different shows or whatever. Maybe it's because of One Piece's art style is why it works so well, and because, you know, it's in the desert with Crocodile and everything, fighting him, why it works so well. But I would love to see an anime with this art style. It would definitely go pretty freaking hard. In fact, in the comment section, the actual creator of this animation went on record to explain how the texture was done. For instance, the, you know, film grain effect. The texture comes from the printing process. My partner and I engaged in a very nerdy process where each frame of this project is animated digitally, printed out, and then scanned. We do it because we love the analog look, and it's fun to be able to share the printed materials with people. Part of the reason I was excited to animate Crocodile is that the grainy texture of the Risograph printer is very evocative of sand. So it makes sense. The reason the decision was done to probably do this fight with Crocodile, and it's in the desert, it fits so well with the grain, which is what I just talked about, and I could see why. It looks like it's natural. It looks honestly fantastic. I don't know. It looks like I'm taking a peek back in like the early 80s and 90s of anime, but it's digitally upgraded to today's standards. Yeah, this is an interesting technique. I honestly, I don't know exactly how hard the technique would be to do in, let's say, a long-running anime, like, for instance, One Piece. But like I said, I would love to see an anime adopt this at least once, to try this. However, when it comes to anime and adaptations and stuff, there is something that we all know, and that is, there is rules to anime adaptations. And changing the art style and doing something very different is not something that is typically, you know, welcomed with open arms. It's usually a taboo. I talked about this recently, actually, when I was talking about the director that directed No Game No Life Season 1, and how they broke the rules to make Season 1. For instance, when they changed the art, like the art style, they did the red line outlines and stuff to characters, it was something that obviously there was a lot of pushback to, but she did it anyways. And I think in this case, it would probably be very hard to get something like this accepted to be allowed in an animation studio, but if it was accepted and there was a dedicated team, you could probably make something very insane with this animation. I would love to see something like that. But one thing I do want to point out, though, and this is the biggest takeaway, I wanted to bring more attention to this, because this is just, like I said, this is an insane feat. This is obviously a celebration, not just of anime and animation, but also just One Piece in general, and the dedicated fan base that it's garnered over the years. I would I really, really hope that someone at Toei or WIT Studios that's doing the One Piece remake takes a hard look at this and hires this guy. I really hope so. I would love to see something like this done. I don't know if it will, but it needs to happen, man. We need something like this done, because this is, like I said, I've been singing its praises. This is incredible stuff. But one thing I want to point out is that apparently this individual that worked on this actually has prior work here. As you can see, something they worked on back in 2024. I'm going to mute it for obvious reasons, don't want any copyright. But you can see that the grainy nature with what they did with the One Piece clip is the exact same here. There's some slight differences, but you can see that this is their signature. This is their signature style they like to do, and honestly, I gotta say, I like this style a lot. Some might not like the film grain and just like how old it looks, but I don't know, I love it, dude. It looks so good. It looks so good in anime. I don't know, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the aesthetic, and I would love to see more stuff like this in the future. One thing I do also want to point out about this One Piece stuff is that apparently there was 345 frames poured into this brief, like, minute clip, or 30-second clip, my bad. A 30-second clip. There was 345 frames, almost 350. If you're wondering how many frames that is, to put this in perspective, for an average anime episode, okay? There is about 20,000 frames of animation for a 20-minute episode. That means that this man went pretty hard for just a 30-second little clip, and potentially could have even went harder if given more time, but that's a lot of frames just for 30 seconds, and it goes to show just how much of a feat this probably was to do on their own with their partner. And imagine if you had a full dedicated team, like 10 to 20, maybe even 30 people working on this. You probably could do something insane if they all were on board with something like this. Like I said, I hope there's some inspiration that's gotten from this. But I'll leave it at that. I wanted to shout this out. Incredible stuff. Very good job, Zach. I really love this. Let me leave a like on this video, actually. I will have a link to this video in the description. Please check it out, guys. Leave a like on this video as well. Very good video. Seriously, I would love to see more stuff like this. You know, Zach, if you do somehow happen upon this video and you watch it, I really do hope that you try to do other scenes, maybe not just from One Piece, but other very popular series that would do very well or benefit from your actual style of animation. I would love to see maybe something from Dragon Ball or something if you haven't done it. I would love that. Or My Hero Academia. I don't know, there's a lot of good ideas. I mean, hell, even Gurren Lagann. There's some certain scenes in Gurren Lagann that would probably look incredible if you were to do this type of art style. But I'll leave it at that, though. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.